What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios for episode 2 of building the Second Battle of Geonosis in Lego. This week, the shape of the mock is going to come together and really hopefully help you guys understand what it is I'm going to be doing with this mock. There were a couple of people who were still trying to figure out what it is I'm going to build, and that's totally fine. I'm still trying to figure it out myself. So hopefully this week together we'll be able to kind of more accurately see like what exactly this mock is going to look like, what's going to be positioned where, and what's going to be happening with everything. This being my secondary mock series, I'm going to be a little bit more experimental than I usually am with things like editing, lighting, cinematography, setting up shots. So it's going to be a little bit different than you're normally used to. Basically, I'm just going to be using it to kind of test out and see like what do I like and what I don't like, and then as well as practicing new ways of filming and new ways of building, just basically running through different ideas. So if some things look a little strange some weeks or look bad some weeks, I'm just trying to weed out the bad ideas from the good. So I'm going to start out this week by figuring out the exact size and shape of the mock. I'm going to start with the 16 by 16 plates, which I absolutely love using for freeform. I feel like they're big enough that you can get a few of them together and create a decently sized mock while still being small enough that you do have a lot of different options with how to shape your mock and like what you want it to look like. Once I get those 16 by 16 plates down, I'm going to go around the edges of those with smaller plates and kind of get a little bit more technical and get a little bit more finished look on the edges. That way this mock isn't just one big square. It's got some nicer, more dynamic and natural looking edges to it. You can see I've also got my anti-vehicle cannons on the mock already. I'm going to be using those to kind of gauge the size and shape of my mock and make sure both of those will fit on there correctly and that I can kind of do what I want with those once the mock is built, because I'm going to have one back behind the other. So I wanted this mock to kind of have like an oval look to it. That way I could place one in front of the other without having them be too squished. And I felt like this would also help make the mock look a little bit more dynamic and a little bit cooler than if I just made a normal rectangle that you see a lot with mocks, especially larger ones. Once I got that shape figured out, I'm going to go ahead and put a bunch of smaller plates on, basically locking everything down and into place, and then I will be ready to start building. So finally you guys can get a good idea of what the shape of my mock is going to look like. I wasn't too specific when I was kind of drawing it up for you guys, just because I'm not a great drawer and I kind of have to put plate down to really understand and know like what the shape is going to be for this mock. And as I was building this one, you saw I had my cannons out to kind of help me place where they were going to be and figure out the shape of the mock, because I want the mock to be built around them. So you can see this one's going to be closer up to the front of the mock, and this one's going to be back behind it a little bit. And so I wanted the mock to kind of follow that same shape. So it's going to come up around here, come up in the front this way, and then start to curve back this way, you can see. So I'm going to create kind of like a weird oval looking thing following the shape of these two. And then over here on this backside, we're going to have a bunch of those Geonosian spires or tall pillars. I don't know what exactly they are, just like natural rock formations. Then maybe even I'll have like a little bit of a mound or some kind of hill right there. I'm not too sure, but this whole area right here is going to be higher up than this area. I want to create kind of like a smaller little plateau that jumps up right here. It'll probably only be like, a brick or two high, nothing too major. And then right here in the back, I'm potentially thinking about putting some kind of like temporary FOB or like, just like a little hollow table. I know that wasn't in the actual TV show, but like I said, I'm going to be taking some creative liberties with this mock just to spice it up and tell more of a story. I'm also going to have some barricades right here in front of the two cannons with troops behind them, and then I'll have the occasional Geonosian fight flying around or running around fighting. The next thing I've got to do is start to work on the freeform. I tend to like to get the whole thing framed off before I start working on the inside. That's just how I do freeform. That might not be possible with this mock just because it's going to take so many parts to get all the way around that I might have to start, working on plate while parts come in to be able to frame the rest of the mock. We'll see. I do have a pretty large order coming in, but for now I just have to work with the parts that I have. So I was laying in bed the other night thinking about Geonosis and what I wanted to do with it, particularly the freeform. and I had this cool idea to kind of combine two different styles of freeform work that I see people use for like the edge of the mock, and that is plates and bricks. You'll see like a 2x plate on its side with like bricks on that, and that'll create like a little bit of a wall. And then sometimes you'll see a bunch of wedge plates stacked on top of each other, kind of like what I'm doing right here. So basically I'm going to be creating a corner here that's going to be wedge plates, and then on either side of that is going to be brick and plate on its side. Basically what I want it to look like is you're going to have two rigid sides, then here in this corner you're gonna have a bunch of wedge plates spilling out, almost like the corner of the mock broke and you've got parts just spilling out onto the floor. I felt like this would be a pretty cool look, and it would help, you know, it would obviously help me make this corner rounded, because that's one thing I really struggle with when building freeforms mocks, is making sure the corners don't look too much like right angles or too rectangular. I like to try and make them look more rounded. So I think that'll help with this corner, and I might do it in a few other spots. Plus I just felt like it would be cool to kind of have the two different styles contrasting each other right on the edge. It'll probably make more sense once it's all built. Obviously now that I'm kind of like building and explaining it, I might not be doing a very good job, but once you see it all together, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. Here's a look at what I got done terrain-wise. So this is kind of what I was talking about doing right here earlier in that time lapse. I wanted to have a transition of plate to brick on its side. I feel like these are the two common techniques you see when doing freeform as far as like building the frame. And I just thought it'd be kind of cool to kind of blend the two right here. I don't know if I'm going to do that anywhere else, but I do like the transition. I feel like it looks pretty cool. It almost gives me a vibe of like the mock is kind of spilling out, like, you know, across all of these sections you're going to have this rigid plate on its side, whereas right here you just... So what I realized I need to do is I kind of have to build the terrain in two sections. So I have to go around the edge and build a frame of plate, kind of like this. And then on the inside, I can put down some bigger like dark tan plates, kind of like this kind of stuff. Bigger stuff. The reason I can't just use just bigger ones is if I put them on the edge like this, even if I cover the top, you're still going to be able to see the side right there, which would be right here. So there would be a dark tan line all right here, even if the top was dark orange. So that's kind of unfortunate because, you know, typically you just kind of plate off the whole mock and then go from there. I won't be able to do that because I don't have any large dark orange plates that can go from the edge inward. So I'm going to have to put a rim that's probably going to be like 1 to 2 studs deep, and then once I get past there, I'm doing this technique right here where I'm just putting down a bunch of dark tan plates like that, and then I'll just cover the top with dark orange, which will give me a complete look of dark orange on the top here, and then dark orange along the side, right along the side of these edge plates and tiles right here. I hope that made sense, and I hope you guys enjoyed this week of building Geonosis. That's going to be everything for me. I'm pretty happy with the progress. Things are coming together pretty quickly at a steady rate, which is good. Next week, we're probably just going to tackle more of this and maybe start taking these things apart and figuring out like what needs to be changed and remodeled, just because they're so old that I may need to change the color. I may need to change the color palette of these, reversing the light gray and dark bluish gray. We'll see. I'm not too sure. Anyways, all that being said, it's time to hit the outro. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I had a lot of fun working on Geonosis. I actually had to force myself to stop just so that I made sure, you know, I had enough, just to make sure that I ration out my parts well. So with this mock, I'm going to make a conscious effort to make sure that I'm putting more time into little sections of the mock and making sure they're really fleshed out, that I've tried multiple options, and that I've got the best section I can get before moving on to the next one. All that being said, don't forget to let me know what you thought about this episode down below in the comments, as well as don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. And of course, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any future content. But until next time, happy building.